Welcome to the Crime Dawg Podcast with your host and content creator, Johnny Fiorica, who gets mad at anyone who celebrates their birthday over the age of 12. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Folks, welcome to the Crime Dawg Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Fiorica. Sitting alongside me tonight, as you guys are well aware, my trusted co-host, David Simpson and Jason Blanchard. David is a 20-year veteran, legendary street cop, undercover cop, homicide detective. Retired after 22 years of service. Jason is a 2.5-decade vet, still on the job with the RPD. He worked all over the city. He's a legendary hostage negotiator. Boys, welcome to the pod.
Happy to be here.
We had to do a pod tonight because, I mean, Jay, you brought it up during our conversation relative to what happened at the Carnival in East Rochester last night. And, you know, again, we would be remiss if we didn't address some of the tomfoolery that's been going on with these festivals as of late. I'll pretty much throw an earmark on it. I'm going to do that several times tonight, right around 2020. This BS has got to stop. For those that don't know, tonight's episode, unfortunately, was inspired by the mayhem that unfolded at the East Rochester, New York Fireman's Carnival last night. For those that are unfamiliar, if you click on any social media, you'll see nothing but acts of an uncivil society unfold.
Multiple fights broke out last night just after the East Rochester Fireman's Carnival. The East Rochester Police Department says just as the carnival was closing around 10 p.m., a group of more than 200 people came to the carnival grounds and fights began. We're told police flooded the area along with additional officers from surrounding agencies. The fights were quickly broken up and police moved the crowd to nearby Piano Works Plaza. Now, in addition to the fights, officials say a 17-year-old teen boy was arrested earlier that night when trying to enter the carnival with a firearm. That picture provided there you just saw. We're told security checkpoints at the entrance also resulted in the confiscation of 2 stun guns as well as several knives from other individuals. The carnival is hosted to benefit the East Rochester Fire Department, and Chief Jim Diego shared his thoughts on the incident after this is the second year in a row something like this has happened.
It was appalling. I was like amazed that youth of today would conduct themselves like that. I just don't know what the outcome that they wanted to see. But if they wanted to test us, they did. And I think we stood up to the test of taking care of the incident. The patrons that came, I feel sorry for them. There were people standing in line with small children wanting to ride rides. They couldn't because other patrons showed up who had no intent on supporting the fire department. Just took advantage of the fact that this was an event that they could come and disrupt.
Okay, so my sources are telling me that this was not from the lack of planning by the East Rochester Fire Department. The festival committee had a number of uniformed officers as well as off-duty cops working a private security detail inside the festival. So it was well thought out. It was well planned. But of course, you can't plan for everything, right? So in addition to the heavy presence of on-duty and off-duty cops, both in uniform and in that private security spectrum, my sources tell me that the festival organizers had the events fenced off. They had a central point of entry. They were restricting entry by age, and the private security company was even checking bags. Here's the best part about it. They were checking bags. Some numbskull, okay, 17-year-old, I'd say kid, but he's a suspect, 17-year-old man. You want to be a man and carry a gun, you're a man, okay? So this 17-year-old man got caught with a gun by the private security company. He was arrested for that. But here's the best part about the story. Not only was he arrested for that gun for last night, he was also out on a charge, a gun charge from earlier this year. And, oh, by the way, he was arrested for firing off a gun last year. So keep it straight. Last night, 17-year-old arrested with a gun. Earlier this year, he was arrested with another gun. He was out on that. And last year, he was caught firing off a gun. Okay? 3 gun incidents. Yup, politicians. Yup. Bail reform is great. Oh, by the way, you know what else is great? Raise the age. Man, that's another great idea you guys had.
Johnny's just a child.
Yeah. So
there was a time, I don't mean to cut you off, Johnny. There was a time that after the first incident, there wouldn't have been 2 and 3, right? Because you still would have been sitting in custody waiting to answer the first charge. So
yeah, it's amazing, right? But we're wrong, right? We're the idiot cops saying that bail reform is bad. Oh, good. It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, we're wrong. We're wrong. Okay. Now let me go on my disgusting, disappointing rant of the assessment of the events that transpired at this carnival last night. It's just not our carnivals and our festivals locally in upstate New York. I think this goes on all over the country, specifically with those cities that have bail reform type laws in place. First of all, festivals and carnivals, they're great events. Okay, let's not get this mixed up. They're great events. They bring families together. They celebrate certain ethnicities and heritages. They provide additional revenue and income to businesses, especially the ones that vend these events. They provide jobs for people working for the vendors. They provide jobs for people at the festival itself. It's just a great thing for the community, okay? It's awesome. All right. But when things like this happen, no bueno, not good. Okay. But when incidents like this happen and carnivals like this, it casts a huge negative cloud over the event. And not only for the event that just took place, but for future events, either for this specific event to happen again next year or other people that have great ideas to bring the community and families together for future events in the municipality and in the towns that happen in the future. David, I gotta be honest with you. Once I woke to this BS, I'm glad Jay sent that text out saying we should do a pod on it. That's why I was jumped on. I said, "Yep, let's do it."
Yeah, it's pretty awful to watch. A couple thoughts. The first is, again, when a guy's caught with a gun 3 times and nothing happens to him, I mean, you're just emboldening not only him but every other guy he knows that has thought about carrying a gun. Because there are no ramifications. We've said this a million times, but the Democrats in Albany have totally shifted all of their favoritism towards criminals and violent criminals, and they have allowed this to transpire. This is a direct result of their failed policies, and this has caused great events like this that I remember going on 30 years ago when I was a young kid and I was living in East Rochester. It was a great family event. And because there are no consequences, these kids go there and run wild. They know that, the cops can't put hands on anybody. They can't do anything physical to anyone. You see the cops in the video are basically just redirecting the kids away from them and trying to get them out of there because they're handcuffed. They've been muzzled. The Democrats in Albany don't want cops to be cops, and they don't want anyone to get locked up. They don't want anyone to get roughed up.
Yeah.
And then these guys just go in there and go buck wild and laugh in the cop's face and security's face. And these things get ruined. It's the same song and dance.
Jay, David's right, and I know you wanted to do a pod on this, and I'm so glad that we jumped on it collectively as a group. These they do it on purpose. These are organized chaos. One person goes on social media and says, "I'll be out at ER, meet me out there," and they all do this because, if you truly wanted to engage in a fight to get somebody else and get revenge on them, there's plenty of places, especially down on Flint Street, where nobody would find you. So why don't you go there? Oh, I know why you go there. You go there because it's going to get broken up by the plethora of on-duty and off-duty cops. Disgusting.
The video that's all over, Twitter and wherever else. First of all, it's disgusting, right? I mean, it's kids. It's not adults. It's kids, teenagers, going there and being as disruptive as they can to ruin a good event. And, let's not forget why these events exist. This is the East Rochester Fireman's Carnival. It's designed to raise money for a volunteer fire department to serve the constituents in East Rochester. No different than the one last week that happened in Webster. that's designed to raise money for these volunteer firemen who go out and volunteer their time and do all this stuff to serve their community. It's not designed to have a bunch of assholes come and sully the event. It's supposed to be for families. It's supposed to be fun. You know, there's bands, there's rides, there's, you know, you name it. And the fact that it's deteriorated to this is an indictment on where we are right now, right? It's sad. And they had problems there last year. And as you stated, they did their due diligence to try to be proactive to address it. And still, individuals' bad intentions came to try to disrupt a fun family event. And it's sad. And again, the only people that suffer, right, are these organizations that are trying to do this to benefit their communities. And then, you know, it has a negative a thing attached to it. And it shouldn't, because I would hazard a guess that the people there that were disruptive and causing a scene probably don't even live in East Rochester. It's just, we see it happen. We're just talking about East Rochester because that's the most recent one, right? But it's happened throughout the county, and it's happened with more regularity than it should.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So people can say whatever they want, but this is a huge reason why we talk about it. Bail reform, the raise the age, all that stuff needs to be relooked at. So, you know, bail reform, criminal justice reform, all this needs to be readdressed. You know, because, for example, you know, Jay, you know, as a street cop, when you have unruly people, they pretty much strip you of your authority with this bail reform, unless there's a certain set of circumstances, like this guy's wanted out of California for murder. I mean, you pretty much get handcuffed. And, you know, these are called what we've referred to them before on the pod as order maintenance crimes. Order maintenance crimes are when people act unruly in public. There's a charge on the books called disorderly conduct. And then when you fail to adhere to an officer's command because they're trying to maintain a crime scene or maintain a scene in general, there's OGA, which is obstructing governmental administration. These are order maintenance crimes. These are meant to get order back when order is missing, okay? Bail reform handcuffs our brothers and sisters that are out there doing a job or trying to do a job in a uniform capacity. And now all of a sudden you can't do anything because of what are you going to do? You're going to give an appearance ticket and then they're going to come right back to the scene? It's disgusting. Disgusting. Let us discuss, and I'm going to say this, it's the secret that really isn't a secret, okay? Let's just take the gloves off for a minute, okay? Don't forget about our International Jazz Fest, which is a wonderful event. It's been going on for over 20 years. And it was canceled in 2020. They canceled it, and they were very benevolent. They were so nice. The organizers were trying to be really cool about it. Oh, we're going to move it to ER because of parking issues. No, they weren't going to move it anywhere. They were going to move it anywhere besides the city because of all the chaos that was happening. And they didn't want to be embarrassed by incidents like this. Okay, they promoted, or they have a festival that has done so well. They bring artists in from all over the world. They bring people in from all over the world for this thing. It goes on for 2 weeks. It's a great event, generates a shit ton of revenue for the city of Rochester, for its businesses, gives local employment. It's unbelievable, on and on and on. You know, but don't forget, that's what they did in 2020, right? They ended up like saying, hey, the festival organizers, I'm not talking out of school, right? But there's no way they were going to have a festival in 2020 because of the mayhem that went on in 2020. So they weren't going to risk it. Now, I'm not speaking for the festival organizers. I'm about 99% sure that's why they were thinking about moving it to RIT when the discussions were had. And then they just decided to cancel it altogether, which I think was a right move. At the end of the day, when you talk about this event, like the things like the Park Ave Fest, you got the Lilac Festival, you know, Park Ave Fest no longer exists. So what do? Like the rest of these local festivals, they went back to the drawing board, the Jazz Fest people, and Lilac, and all these other festivals, and they took precautions. So in some instances, they placed these big cement pillars around the outer perimeter, so these ATV dirt bike riders couldn't get in. They placed fences around the perimeter of the festival, and they only had one point of entry in most situations. If they had multiple points of entry, they put security guards there to check IDs, and they put parental restrictions on some of the people and made them have either parents if they were under a certain age. They had to be accompanied by adults pretty much if you were under a certain age. They made all these changes. Not only did The festival, it's my understanding, the festival did this last night, or the Carnival did it last night, and other festivals did it. They implemented all these changes to try to prevent incidents like this happening. And it's my understanding from what my sources tell me that all this stuff happened outside the festival where the festival was. It wasn't inside the festival. That's my understanding. You had some instances like Lilac, when you saw some of the kids that were getting, and Jay, you worked the festival as well as I did. When you see some of these new changes implemented, when you see some of these kids that got around or jumped fences or whatever, and they knew that things were going to happen, you had security guards or uniformed police officers just following these kids around saying, hey, don't try it. Don't try it. But anyways, all these festivals had to make new arrangements, spend more money because of incidents like last night. And it totally disgusts me.
There was a time when, I don't know, I guess what that timeline was. I know you guys were probably still on the job when, we had complete chaos down at the Lilac Fest, right? And just like you said, Johnny, they reevaluated. They worked with their partners in the county. It's a county park. It's city police, so on and so forth. And I can tell you, because I've seen it over the last 5-6 years, that that place has adjusted, and there haven't been incidents. There's a large police presence down there. There's a collaborative effort with inside security and outside, and it's well done. But it's a shame that it has to be that way. But it has to be that way. This is how it is nationwide. Rochester isn't unique to this, right? There's heavy police presence at all these events and festivals and music fests and you name it. The one thing that I find completely obnoxious when I'm there as a patron at these events is, you walk around now, if you're there with your family or whatever, the smell of marijuana in the air, no matter where you go. I mean, it was perforating the streets of city of Rochester for the Jazz Fest and all over. And it's not people that are per se in there. It's just people standing around, smoking. I mean, I can't go to a restaurant and have a cigar out on a patio if I want to, right? But I can walk down the streets or a Red Wings game or wherever it is, and everybody outside can be smoking marijuana. There was a time when that would end you up in jail, and that time is long gone. These are things that people don't think about, in like we've talked about, putting the cart ahead of the horse. Families want to go out and enjoy these events. Nobody wants to stand around there and smell, marijuana when they're there with their kids, or even when they're there with, just going out with your buddies. I don't want to go down there and smell that, I mean, it's just, these are things that, people have, apparently not taken into consideration. And then, it just emboldens a group to go down there and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's all because of this bail reform, raise the age bullshit that's going on. David, we have friends and family. They literally say, yeah, I'm not going to these festivals and carnivals anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not subjecting my kids to the chaos. I'm not doing it. It's sad.
Piggyback on what Jay said, what's really obnoxious is the silence from Democratic leadership in this community that has stuck their head in the sand and cries about, show me the stats, show me the stats. Yet they're blind to what they see. They're blind to the Spot Coffee being destroyed for no reason by vandals because there are no repercussions. They're blind to guys carrying guns 3 times in 18 months and not getting locked up and keep doing it over and over again. They're blind to the East Rochester Carnival turning into a riot situation because there are no ramifications, and all their policies benefit the criminal and handcuff the cops. They're blind to all that, and when that happens, they go silent. Nothing from our congressman, nothing from our town supervisor, nothing from our county supervisor. It's just appalling that they'll sit there when it's quiet and the waters are calm, and they'll cry about show me the stats, show me the stats. But when chaos is going on and the shit hits the fan, utter silence. They're hiding, and they have nothing to say. So Sheriff Baxter came out with a real good video clip this week that he put out that I kind of try to put out on Twitter. And, I fully support where he stands. He's the only guy that's been banging the drum on either side screaming for someone to come to the table and make some adjustments to this. Again, we've said it 1,000 times. The sheriff said it 1,000 times. We're not looking for to totally take away all of the things that the Democratic side has wanted to put into place. We're asking for them to come to the table, work with law enforcement professionals, and try to find some common ground so we can return some sanity to these things. But all they do is they hide. They hide. And that's all they're doing, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, it pisses everybody off. And when you talk about criminal justice reform, you have people like Sheriff Baxter. You even have us talking about it, right? We're like, hey, you know what? Since bail reform and criminal justice reform and those other BS laws that they put into place, like I said about the raise the age and all this other stuff, when they implemented these things, we're like, maybe they weren't so great, but where you are right now is horrible. Maybe we can meet you in the middle. You have law enforcement leaders in the community like Sheriff Baxter that are coming out and saying, hey, you know what? We get you. Yeah, meet me in the middle. Meet me in a room. Let's talk about it. Nowhere. Crickets. There's always crickets.
Johnny, if you carry an illegal handgun, it's to kill somebody. And if you can't find a way to lock up a guy that's carrying an illegal handgun, regardless of the age, and put him in a safe place for him or herself and the community, you failed. You failed miserably. It doesn't get any easier than that. A child would know that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to reiterate, I wasn't aware of the incident with the handgun, getting stopped at the festival itself, right? So kudos to whomever was involved in that, because somebody carrying in a handgun that's not a police officer or an off-duty police officer, or a registered firearm owner, right, into that place has got bad intentions. That's an illegal firearm. Like David said, you're not carrying an illegal firearm because you have positive things that you're going to do with it. Somebody had bad intentions, and
he wasn't going to shoot cans.
You got it. So whoever was involved in that, whether on or off duty, or that's a huge stop.
Yeah, it's my understanding, Jay, that the private security company that was hired by the festival stopped the guy at the gate.
Well,
outstanding job.
Yeah, they did their job and then some, right? I mean, that's what you're hoping that you keep out. So good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks, listen, things got to change. Enough's enough. Meet people like Sheriff Baxter. Meet other law enforcement leaders that say, hey, you know what? We don't disagree. There needs to be some edits. There needs to be some changes to our criminal justice reform. We've been banging the drum since we started our pod. And something needs to get done. It's the people that sit on their hands, like David says, the politicians that sit on their hands and they want to talk about stats. We've already discussed the stats. Depending on who does the study, who funds the study, what their intention of the study, we went on a deep dive with all these bail reform stats. And the only thing that we found that was consistent was how inconsistent the findings were. Folks, listen. You can find us on our YouTube channel at Crime Dawg Podcast. Once you're there, you can hit like and subscribe. We'll automatically send you an alert when a new or our latest episodes drop, or you can find us on our website, which is www.thecrimedogpodcast.com, where you can click on our latest podcast as well as our library of episodes that we have current and from the past. But thank you for listening to the Crime Dawg Podcast. We hope you stick with us for future episodes. But like my brother-in-law, Frankie Grassi, says, if you can't make it, who cares?